Oh, well, okay, here I am. Welcome to another edition of the Backyard Professor videos. I'm Kerry Schertz, the Backyard Professor. I promised I was going to finish reading William Hamblin's summary of warfare in the Book of Mormon on the various excellent papers on warfare in the Book of Mormon. So I'm sitting here by a beautiful little brook up here in the Lemhi mountain range, and I can't think of a better place to read out loud to you and share with you some of the incredible internal consistency as well as the consistency of the way the Book of Mormon depicts warfare with the ancient world. Hopefully this wind isn't going to be too bad for you. So I got to get the ants off my book. I'm on page 483 on this warfare in the Book of Mormon. See if I can scoot just a little closer here. Ooh, there's a comfortable spot. And that way you can see the brook and hear the brook as well as listen to me read and listen to the birds. They're out here chirping an awful lot. I began reading on the first tape, on the first two tapes, so I'm just going to continue off where I left off on page 483. Like many aspects of human life, the nature of pre-technical warfare falls into definite cross-cultural patterns. This is interesting because historians, whether they're military historians, cultural historians, ancient historians, medieval, modern, so on and so forth, the theme, the key appears to be to look for patterns. The patternism was established by the Cambridge University patternists back in the 1930s, and it completely revolutionized historical studies. Nibley was raised on the patternism ideas, and that's why some of his materials is so all-inclusive, it seems like. It works out that patternism works well with the military aspects in the Book of Mormon also. In broad terms, the idea of the patterns are that soldiers in most ancient societies tended to organize for war and fight in a limited number of basically similar military systems. Nonetheless, though warfare has been a constant factor in human history, the precise nature of that warfare and the means by which wars were carried out, this is what has such a great variety. There have been many periods of transformation in the patterns of human warfare. The most important began in the late 16th century in Western Europe, based on a combination of the development of effective gunpowder weapons, the development of new methods of state organization itself that allowed an increasing percentage of state resources that could be devoted to this thing we call warfare. The creation of new military tactics occurred because of the invention of gunpowder weapons, of course, and the eventual industrialization of warfare itself. Later, the military developments of the Napoleonic age further transformed these patterns of how people fought and the patterns, the ways, things that occurred in warfare. These developments changed the history of the entire planet. It also transformed the way people lived. Thus, historians recognize a fundamental discontinuity beginning in the 16th century between what could be called modern or technical warfare and pre-modern or pre-technical warfare. Despite the fact that Joseph Smith lived in the age of modern or technical warfare, following the great military transformations of both the 16th century and the Napoleonic Wars, the Book of Mormon consistently reflects the basic patterns of pre-modern warfare. This is interesting. The pre-modern military patterns described in the Book of Mormon are not limited to generalities, but they also extend to the minutest details in the text. I would like to summarize the remarkable consistency and ancient parallels of Book of Mormon military descriptions in 7 categories. So Hamblin's going to give us 7 categories of this pre-modern, pre-technical warfare style of life. The ecological foundations of ancient warfare. Pre-modern warfare, along with all of the other elements of pre-modern life, was closely bound up with the natural environment. These environmental considerations are clearly reflected in the history of warfare. These actually underlay many of the descriptions of warfare in the Book of Mormon as well. The basic environmental limitation was that human beings were physically limited. The human body can operate at peak efficiency only within a limited range of environmental conditions governed by factors like temperature, humidity, and altitude. Even under optimum environmental conditions, humans need frequent periods of rest and daily access to food and drink. When extended beyond its limited range of favorable conditions, the human body quickly loses efficiency, and the effectiveness of the warrior rapidly deteriorates. Another basic limiting factor was the terrain itself that they were holding the warfare in. Each geographical zone in the world represents a unique combination of hills, mountains, rivers, forests, valleys, lakes, and oceans. The patterns of warfare in any region of the world are invariably based on their unique terrain. As John L. Sorensen has demonstrated in his geographical studies, the accounts of warfare in our Book of Mormon are filled with descriptions of the strategic and the tactical effects of the terrain itself. These are details that Joseph Smith apparently included in the Book of Mormon. Another important consideration in warfare is climate, hydrology, and seasonality. War was very difficult to conduct during extensive periods of excessive rain, heat, or even cold. Because ancient societies were closely tied to the seasonal cycles of nature, and the reason why, of course, is because they had crop planting and harvesting, agricultural considerations, limited periods of extended warfare in the ancient world. John Sorensen has also demonstrated that the Book of Mormon accounts of warfare actually do reflect the climactic and seasonal conditions of Mesoamerica. A final important natural factor in ancient warfare was animal resources. Throughout human history, a wide range of animals have been used to support military activity. Donkeys, horses, camels, elephants, and oxen have served as beasts of burden to transport supplies and equipment, not to mention food. Soldiers also rode horses, camels, and elephants into battle. Cattle, sheep, goats, and other livestock were frequently herded with armies to provide continuous supplies of meat. So, the speed of an army's march frequently depended not on the average speed of a human being, but on the average speed of the slowest animal accompanying the army. Many military systems also use birds, such as carrier pigeons, to send messages. The success of many ancient military systems directly hinged on creating effective human and animal cooperation, specifically adapted to particular environments.